Hi, I'm David. I'd love to show you something that I think will really make a difference in your spiritual life and in your walk with the Lord. So many times in counseling, people will tell me that they have a sensation that God has left them, or that they're just not being filled by His Spirit. And I think one of the things that has helped me to illustrate this is the illustration of a faucet. God's love is a constantly flowing fountain. Scripture tells us there's no on-off valve here at all, and it's constantly flowing. And when we have our cup underneath the flow of God's love, it is constantly being filled. One of the neatest things is that God is faithful, and He will always be attentive to us. In the Psalms, it says that He who watches over Israel never slumbers nor sleeps. And what happens is that God is always available to us to constantly be filling our cup with His love and His grace. But for almost all of us, probably all of us to be honest with you, our cup gets moved over here. Sometimes it get kicked over here by spiritual warfare. Sometimes it's just that we want what we want, and sometimes our own selfishness gets in the way. But it is a truth that our cup gets pulled away from the flow of God's love. At first we don't notice it because the cup is full, but the longer our cup stays away from the flow of God's love, the emptier and emptier that it gets. And sooner or later we start asking questions like, where did God go? Or perhaps even worse, I hear this so often, why did He leave me? There's an A in there. And what happens for so many of us is when our cup is over here and it gets so emptied and so dry, it's like being in a desert, and we just don't have anything to rely on, no strength, no reserve for us as in our spiritual lives, and we just go dry. Well, the answer to the question is to try to find a way to get our cup moved back over to where it's constantly under God's flow. In Jeremiah, it says, people have sinned in two different ways. They have abandoned me, the fountain of flowing water, and they have dug for themselves cisterns that won't even hold water. And this is what happens to us. But if we want to have spiritual renewal and vitality and an abundance in life, we have to make sure that our cup is constantly being held under God's flow. Well, the way that we do this is that we, through confession and through asking for God's forgiveness, we are able then to move our cup back over here, and it's being filled constantly by His flow. It takes a lot of discipline on a lot of our parts for us to make sure that we do this. But I hope that you can see that it's important for us to even sense when our cup is only moved just a little bit of a way, rather than have it moved all the way over here, so that it's a little bit of a shorter trip for us to get our cup back under here. Now, here's a little homework assignment that might be real helpful for you. In Ephesians 3:14 through 19, the Scripture has some very wonderful promises about the truth of God's love. And then also in Romans 11:33, talks about the expansiveness and the fullness and the grace that He has for us when we really live in a life that's constantly being filled by His Spirit. Hope these two little verses will be helpful to you as you read them, as you journal about them, and as you consider how to help have your cup staying under the flow of God's love.